Just got over to the ranch, and the first thing that I'm doing this morning is checking on these traps I set yesterday. Nothing in that one. And trap number 2, That's kind of strange. It's laying on its side, but there's nothing in it. Let me, fortunately this is the one with the trail cam on it, so hopefully we can figure out what happened. Well, I guess we know what happened. Apparently peanut butter smells good to a possum as well. Go ahead and get this thing set back up. If that possum, or anything else for that matter, keeps knocking that trap over, what I can do is just screw it down to a board or something like that so that it doesn't just tip over really easily. But we'll see. We'll give it another chance tonight and see what happens. 2325, one of the heifers that we just brought home from the steer pasture about a week ago. Man, it looks like she's getting pink eye, or got pink eye. So while she's up here in the corral, it's a good time to just close the gate on her and get her in the chute. I don't have any of my medicine or anything here with me right now, but I'll go ahead and close the gate so I can run home and get that stuff. And then when we're prepared, she'll be up here waiting for us. Looks like everybody's trying to come in right now, but they're just gonna have to wait for a minute. We got freeloader number 16 here. Look how fat she is. That's what happens when they're not nursing a calf. Here's another good example of it. In fact, maybe we'll just go ahead and run her back in the working corral so I can open that gate back up, because it looks like everybody is coming up to get a drink right now. With the new fence here in the working corral, I could just hold her in here, but I think she'll be less stressed if she's actually in the tub alley, because then she'll be sharing a fence with the big corral and she'll see the other cows and won't feel so isolated, is the theory I'm going with. All right, you gonna cooperate? She says, no chance. Come on, honey. I'm on your blind side. When you're on their blind side, you gotta make noise so they know where you're at. Come on, girl. Up you go, up you go. Go ahead around. Behave. You gonna come in here? She'll be fine in there while we go after the medicine. I don't think I've started the video yet. I'm gonna doctor this heifer and then we'll just kind of see where the day goes from there. That's what's going on today on Farmer Tyler Ranch. Well, unfortunately for 2325, she's been through this before. If you guys remember, earlier in the summer, we doctored her on her right eye. You can still see the scar that's there now. And yeah, now she's got it in her left eye. So we'll flush it out with some spray, we'll put some powder in there, and then we'll put a patch over it That'll keep the light off of it to help her be more comfortable, and it'll also keep the flies from getting in there and bugging her as well. I'm not a huge believer in this stuff, but you know, I've got it, so certainly can't hurt, I guess. We'll get you fixed up. Open up. I'm sure that don't feel good. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Now this is the actual medicine here. That's it for medicine for her. Now we got to get a patch on her. This might be harder than getting the powder in her eyes, getting the glue on this patch without getting it all over everything. Okay. What I've learned with this Arrowquip chute and the head holder is that the head holder is awesome for getting that patch on because they really can't move their head around and fight you too much. But after you get the patch on, you want to open the head holder immediately, because if they start pulling back, they can actually rub the patch off on the head holder itself. I see she walks straight over to the scratch brush over there, and she might get that thing rubbed off on her own, but you know, it's some things you can't control. You just do the best that you can for them. You see Rivet standing there at attention. He's like, oh, is that a new heifer? Since I updated you on the rat traps, I figured I better do the same on the squirrel trap. Although we haven't caught anything here, it's not all bad news because there has been some activity. You can see he took one of the pomegranate quarters that I left, and he's eaten all of it. He left the skin outside the hole here. Last night, that pomegranate was like down in the hole. So there's activity, there's something happening, but he just hasn't quite worked up the courage to go inside the trap. Hopefully, in another day or so, he will. Either that or I'm just gonna have to sit out here with the pellet gun and wait for him. Yesterday, we went into town, so I stopped at the farm store and I got this stall mat here, and I'm hoping, now I'm kind of thinking maybe it's too little, but we can definitely cut some of the rubber flaps out for the pig feeder, maybe even all of them. I think maybe I'll clear a little spot here on the trailer to cut that mat out. As you guys know, all the tables inside my shop have this amazing ability to attract clutter. Of course, you could about say the same thing for the trailer, but I need to get this cleaned off because I've got some stuff I'm gonna have to haul here at the end of the week. I might have bought something. These things are so awkward to carry. Okay, so I don't really have anything good to draw on, so I'm just gonna draw on the side of the hopper here. So the shape that we're going for is gonna be something like this. So I'll probably start with the total lengths. Those are the easiest ones to figure. So the height here has gotta be 15 inches. We'll hang off 2 inches. That'll give them plenty of room to get their noses under there to lift this up. So 15, and then total width, let's say 27. Let me do this in a paint pen so you guys can see it better. So 6 inches. Top be about 13, it looks like. It's gotta be 7 1/4. So from all these numbers, I should be able to cut something out that's gonna fit here very well. And I think what I'll do, I'll cut this one out first, and then we'll just test it on the other 3 sides. And if it looks like it's gonna work all the way around, then we'll just cut out 3 more just like it. So from this high-tech schematic, we know that we need a rectangular piece of rubber that is 15 by 27. We basically just have to cut a couple corners off. Now I just got to figure out the most efficient way to cut those pieces out of this piece. I cut out a piece of cardboard that is the size of the flaps, and now I can just kind of play with it on my stall mat to try to make 4 pieces fit. I think I can do it now that I can visualize it, so we're going to give it a try. Well, after laying this all out, there's about a 1/2 inch of overlap right here, but that's gonna be fine. We'll just kind of split the difference when I cut it, and it'll be good enough like that. Well, be something like that. We'll attach it up here at the top. I'll just use some bolts and probably a strip of metal across here to really pinch that good, and then there's enough of a lip, the pigs can just come and push this open and reach their heads in, and that ought to do it. Ow! All right, I got these big 1-inch washers. They're gonna be perfect in this application. Well, what do you think? I think I did in an hour what would have taken me all day, or possibly longer if I was to build these lids out of metal. And I like this. I think it looks good. It's gonna definitely keep birds out of this feeder. Not sure that a rodent couldn't wiggle its way in there, but I don't know. I mean, these rubber pads are pretty heavy, so I guess we'll just kind of have to keep an eye on it and see. These are definitely not going to be watertight. You can see there's little gaps around, and you know, maybe that's my fault because I didn't grind this down smooth enough, which I suppose I could still try to go back and do. But it will be water resistant, and I think as long as we're not getting like significant downpours, this will be good enough. I'm also kind of second guessing these pieces. This is just a really thin flat bar. It's kind of sharp on the sides, and I'm just wondering if it's not going to end up like cutting a pig. I don't even really think I need these anymore. So I might just remove them all together, or I might remove them and replace them like with some square tubing that would be stronger and it would be a softer edge. So I might end up doing that, but I don't really like these the way they are now. And isn't that just the way it goes when you're building something? As you go, you kind of change your mind, what you like, what you want, and that's just one of those things. It's like if I was to build another pig feeder, I would not have to learn all these lessons. I could just do this the right way the first time. But we are so close with the feeder now. In fact, there's really only, well, 2 more things that need to happen. The first, probably most obvious, is we need a roof on this thing, some sort of a lid. I've got some sheet metal. That should be no big deal. And then after that, I just got to hit this thing with the wire wheel and paint it. I did buy, I think it's International Harvester White. It was on sale, and I thought that's a great color for a pig feeder, so that's what we're gonna go with. Oh, and I still need to weld the skids on the bottom. I don't want to forget to do that. So I'm gonna paint the majority of the feeder white, like I said before, but then I'm thinking about doing the pan on the bottom maybe putting bed liner over that white paint, just because that's going to be the part of the feeder that's going to get abused the most, I think, as far as just corrosion, mud, water, all that stuff that it's going to be subjected to. So still more to do, but I think that's going to do it for today. Oh, looks like some more work showed up. I bought this trailer, I want to say in 2009 or 2010. Let's say it was 10. So the tires on it, all except for one, are 14 years old. I replaced this one like 1 or 2 years ago when I was hauling hay. It blew out on me. So when I replaced that one, I actually bought a second one, and I never ended up putting it on. And now I've got 2 more to make a complete set for this trailer. And I know that's not really a normal way to buy a set of tires for a trailer over the course of like 2 years and 2 at a time, but that's the way that I did it. They say you're supposed to replace trailer tires every like 6 years or so. It might be 8 years, I don't know. Let's say I think it is 6 years. So these are well beyond that, and if you look at them, they are almost worn bald, which is kind of unheard of with trailer tires. Usually they age out long before they wear out. So I figured I was pushing my luck with these tires, and it was just time to get some new ones. I'm not going to be changing trailer tires today, but they're here now, so it'll have to be pretty soon, I guess. Well, you guessed it, it's pasture moving day. It's late September as I'm filming this, so I've probably got maybe another month of feeding the cows pasture exclusively with no hay supplementation. And looking at the pastures, they look pretty good still. It's usually around the middle to late October when things start really changing, and then we got to start giving them some hay. Tight, but not so tight you break. As you look out on these pastures, obviously you see a lot of smut grass. That's the grass that I have been fighting here for the last couple years. But I'm also noticing this year that I don't really remember ever noticing this before, but a lot of the Dallas grass has gone to seed as well. That'd be like, this is all Dallas grass seed here. Let's go ahead and help that spread out a little bit because we want that. So what's causing that? Well, the only thing that I can really think of is just that's a good indicator to me that I'm not abusing this grass. We're not overgrazing it, because if I was, then it would never be allowed to get so tall that it would develop a seed head. All this here, it's all Dallas grass, and it's all gone to seed. Maybe this is nothing worth getting excited over, because the smut grass seed bank is increasing quite a bit as well, but at least now maybe it's a little bit more balanced. I don't know. Get in. Good girl. That's a good place for her to wait while we do this. Well, it ought to be a surprise to no one that we've got one calf here that just doesn't seem to quite have it figured out, even though we've been doing this all summer. Oh, maybe he's getting it now. I know when I came in, there were a bunch of calves down in the ditch at the end of the pasture, so he might have been way down there and not realize that everybody was moving. But yeah, we've got open valves over here. Okay, he made it. He figured it out. Kinda. You better go. You're getting left behind. We'll run down there and make sure that everybody got moved. But yeah, he'll find his way now. We'll leave it to a calf. He's just about old enough to be weaned off of his mother, and he still doesn't know the program out here. I gotta open some valves, set a clock. You guys have seen me do it all before, so I think we're gonna call it here. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys, and I hope I'll see you again on Farmer Tyler Ranch.